Hello, 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 and welcome to It's Better Together with Revel Coach and today we are lucky enough to have Ginnette Harvey with us. And Ginnette is a rock star in the world of recruiting. We are so happy to have her here. Ginnette, this year, 2021, you founded Harper Gray. Can you give us a little sample of what made you say, maybe I could, and pushed you over the edge to, hell yes, I can start my own company in 2021?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me. Very grateful to have the opportunity to join you today. And yeah, a little on my background. I had co-founded the North American business for the specialist staffing group, which is a specialist STEM organization in the talent space. And I'd spent 15 years really doing that and helped to grow that business to just over 300 million. And I was extremely comfortable in that role, in all honesty. You know, I could have stayed doing that for another 10 years. And that was the thing that scared me. That was the thing that actually really kind of propelled me to take the leap and to get back outside of my comfort zone from a passion perspective. I'm really passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I just kept having this gnawing feeling that that there really wasn't enough progress and sort of an authentic approach to lead in talent solutions with diversity, equity, and inclusion at the heart of it. And the more I thought about it, the more I just felt compelled that was my passion, that was my purpose, and it was time to walk away from the really great corporate job and really get myself back out of my comfort zone and try something new.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome. We love when somebody is, following their passion. I mean, what's cool about what you've done with starting Harper Gray is that you've taken all your experience and then you just bottled it up into what you're passionate about to start a company. So from what I understand, you're on a mission to help companies diversify in their workforce. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you're going about, helping companies diversify and, matching them up with the right talent?
Yeah, so it's two things actually. It's helping companies to diversify, and it's also helping companies to foster a culture of inclusion. So there's two ways that we do that. Number one is that I have a retained search business, which really looks at helping organizations to diversify from the top down. A lot of companies, publish a lot of stats and goals, and often we see progress maybe at the bottom of an organization or kind of at the middle level, but we all know change starts at the top. So one of the conversations that I have with organizations are around how do we get a more diverse leadership team in place to start off with, and then we also look at kind of specialist positions from there. So when I take on a retained search, there is that commitment to show a range of candidates that is reflective of the world that we live in, right? So it's not all women, it's not all one particular minority group. It's basically saying here is a slate of candidates that is true to the world that we live in, right? So there's representation for everyone within that. And then the second way around driving inclusive environments is we know that diversity is only part of the picture here. It's one thing to get the talent through the door, but do they have an environment that means they can bring their whole self to work, and for you to really benefit from that diversity of thought? So I work with companies around their processes. So how fair is your interview process? What does the onboarding process look like, etc.? And then really a lot around training and coaching for leaders who are on this journey to become inclusive leaders. So really kind of instead of just expecting managers to suddenly manage ever more diverse teams and be be all things to all people, that's really helped to bridge the skills gap here and help people along the way to become truly more inclusive in the way that they lead.
Ginnette, tell us about these gaps in leadership, and how can we as leaders present ourselves in those gaps so that we can begin to fill them and create that inclusive environment.
Mm-hmm. Can you just rephrase that, Alison?
So there's, if a company is striving for inclusivity, there's gaps in there.
Yeah.
How do we fill those gaps?
So I think as leaders, there's a ton that we can do to be more to start by role modeling and being more inclusive ourselves and fostering an environment and a culture of inclusivity, and that's everything from how we sort of foster an environment where everybody's has the space, the platform, the opportunity to share their ideas and to be recognized for those ideas and to be appreciated for the uniqueness that they bring to the table. The sort of the environment that we create as leaders goes a really long way, either in this direction or in a more kind of positive direction. And so that is the simplest way and the most fundamental way to be able to allow everybody to bring their whole selves to work, right? Being aware of who gets to speak first in meetings, who speaks the longest, and just these little things from a dynamic perspective that really start to shape the culture. Meritocratic processes around promotion and how we sort of evaluate people help us to eradicate potential bias that might come into that process. There's just so many things, even from a day-to-day perspective, that leaders can do to support the principles around inclusivity.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And I love how you're talking about like the culture, and not the culture as if it's a third party, but what we can do, like what executives can do to kind of impact that. What are you seeing in terms of like the trends of company cultures, obviously with the blended in person and, working from home, a lot of executives are trying to figure out culture. How do you feel like that's either helping diversity inclusion or hurting diversity inclusion? Any sort of insight on that?
I think it's a very much a mixed bag, to be honest with you. So obviously there's a whole piece in there around why we've pivoted to a remote environment against the backdrop of the pandemic, and sort of the impact that has had on many women who during the pandemic had to kind of pick up for want of a better word, a lot of the slack that kind of came, and we saw some of the repercussions of that when a lot of women ended up exiting the workforce. So I think that the sort of the shocking statement around we lost a generation of progress for women against the backdrop of the pandemic. We can't ignore that's what we came into 2021 with, right? That's the progress that we lost in 2020. But I do think that there's a lot of organizations that have used this as an opportunity to genuinely reevaluate where they stand on policies and flexibility has greatly benefited certain populations and women in particular. There's also, I think, a little bit of a trend now where you can see companies are falling into one camp or the other. Some that are just desperate to go back to the status quo. They don't believe that you can create a culture based on being virtual. I personally don't think culture is about whether you're all sat around the same table, whether you're in the same room, whether you can have a conversation around the water cooler. There's so many more things that kind of go into that. And so the companies that are hankering after the status quo and really in some instances really mandating that their employees go back to the office to save the culture are probably going to experience a real war for talent, effectively, because people will vote with their feet, and we don't have to work in that type of environment. They don't have to be, back in an office environment, because there's plenty of companies that are embracing change. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag. And it's, I think it's confusing because for sure, when you're in person, the water cooler culture, I mean, there's some good and there's some bad of it, but there's definitely a lot of missed opportunities for mentorship and seeing what other people are doing and just getting to know people. So you're more comfortable to take a risk with saying your idea because the other people a little bit more personally. And, when you're in Zoom, you just have to work a little bit harder on how you create that type of environment.
And I would say intentionality is the key around it, right? So it's possible to achieve all of these same outcomes. The organizations just need to be so much more intentional about how they're going to foster that.
Oh, that's so true. Tell me a little bit more about how leaders can be more intentional with this. What's your approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think intentionality starts with awareness, doesn't it? Right. So it starts with connecting with an organizational level, a team level, and an individual level to understand what it is that people need, right? And some of that is, when you consider the personal side, is asking people, is really taking a personal interest in every single person within your teams, and really being quite thoughtful about, for example, mentor opportunities. So some organizations have got formal mentor programs which are very, very well thought out, and that they lead to all different types of connections within the organization. And there's also companies that take it a step further and understand that difference between mentorship and sponsorship, and allow you access to and facilitate access to people who are going to be able to act as a sponsor for you. And so, though that's, is, I would say, is sort of gold standard that companies can do, but there's also so many things, even just on an informal level, where you can help people to make connections. You can, often managers think that they have to have all of the answers around how do we get more connectivity within the team, when actually other people are going to have some great ideas around, it would be great if we could do X, Y, and Z. And that, I think, just providing the space as well to hear those ideas and to help facilitate them is, can go a long way toward what we're talking about.
I know of a startup company. It's no longer really startup, but it's still small, and majority of the people are remote. And they've scheduled, whenever there's a new person that comes on, they schedule meet and greets. So they actually put it on your schedule, like the HR department schedules the meet and greet. And then they have every Friday, they actually have a 1 hour chit chat office wide. Everyone comes, the new people introduce themselves. They actually, they have like 3 sentences they're allowed to say, but then they go around the Zoom room, and everybody has an idea for conversation. And then they also have like the CEO will give his view of the company, where it is. And so everybody's on that same page and they never feel left out. And what's been the most surprising part is that I know people who have joined this company thinking, oh, this is going to be awful. I want to be in person. I'm an in-person type of person, but the job's a good one. And now they're in love with the idea that they can control their own schedule, and they're meeting all these people, and they come away. Every meeting is like, I just met a rock star. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. That's a perfect example of, of putting the structure in place, right? Because it's hard to just expect other people, especially new people, to kind of say, figure it out, go meet people. So I think the key there is the structures in place, but the outcomes in that instance are terrific.
Ginnette, tell me what is great for women in the workplace today. I know we talked about this sort of 2021 exodus, but what's great? What are the opportunities? What's on our horizon?
Well, I think there's so much progress that's been made when you consider the stats around women in board seats and women in senior leadership seats. That's all going in the right direction. Now, granted, there's always more progress that we can make, but there's a significant amount of progress being made. So there's a lot of the new board seats, a lot of the senior executive leadership seats, they are going to finally to a proportionate amount of women, and the general awareness of the value that diversity of thought and if we're talking about gender specifically for women, that they can bring this idea now of not having to pretend to be something that you're not, that you can lead with empathy, and that is no longer considered to be a weakness, that there is true appreciation for the differences in leadership style that women can bring to the table. And then I also think I've been in this situation before where I consider myself to be in the only club. You look around the room and there is no one else that looks like you, and that can be a really intimidating place to kind of play. And so I certainly appreciate even just on a personal level now, going into rooms where there is that diversity around the table, and it means that you feel more comfortable expressing your own differences and bringing your creativity to the table. And you talking to other peers in leadership roles, I know others who feel very, very similar around the progress that's been made. So I would say we have so much to look forward to, and we can really start to bring our most authentic selves into the room now, which is terrific.
Yeah. And I'd love to talk a little bit more about this, because I feel like there's so much what you're saying. I think there's so much power in that. There is momentum towards a change, in gender diversity and a lot of really positive progress. And as we kind of go forward, say 2023, we'll never be able to take away 2021. So we found, dads were more engaged, the whole working mom plight got a little more neutralized as everyone kind of experienced this ability to be very productive when you're at home, and the ability to want to be in the office. Like, a lot of good things have kind of changed. From your point of view, how do you feel like, kind of go forward as diversity, like gender diversity, is kind of a little more evened out? Like, how much it'll change the expectations of leaders going forward? Like, what do you think maybe like the new direction will be, and like what people look for in leaders?
Well, I think naturally, when leaders have fit a specific mold for a really long time, you start to equate competence with that, right? So let's call it what it is for a really long time. When you look at the C-suite, it has been older white men that have sat in a lot of those seats. And so the way that our minds work, when that's what you're confronted with, our own biases start to creep in, and that's unconsciously what you start to associate with success and what a powerful, competent leader looks like. Now that we're starting to get so many more examples and so many more role models of leaders that look different, think different, speak different, and we can see the results that they're generating, that's where we can start to really look forward to progress and what that's going to mean for us, right? Because we're going to start to break down some of those biases and realize that actually there's a lot of incredible leaders out there that do not fit the mold, that we've broken the mold. There is no mold anymore, and that's when you start to really get a far more level playing field. So I'm excited to see what some of this what some of the gender diversity really kind of brings for us in terms of some heavy hitting role models over the next couple of years.
It's awesome. And I love on your website, you have a lot of good statistics that show when there is diversity at the top, how it actually increases revenue or everything from profits to employee morale and things like that. Can you share with me, when you think about those statistics, of this positive change and impacts change, now you have a company that's kind of like, all right, I want to get on board with diversity inclusion, where some companies may be going there because it feels trendy and it's something I have to do. And then you have some companies that the culture to get them to change, they want to change, but they're not there yet. So either one of those categories, there's a major adjustment that the company needs to make. What advice do you have for people to help companies get started on this path of diversity inclusion? And not, again, I saw this on your website, not as a slogan, but exactly, as a genuine, like, okay, I've seen what I've seen, and I want to be a part of helping our company evolve to where, the future is headed.
Yeah, so the way that you framed that, it makes so much sense, and you're right that companies, there's all different starting points. I'm supporting a company on Friday actually who falls into the category of really authentically, we want to do something, but we are nowhere on this right now. And one of the things that I really enjoy about supporting that company is that the leader is at a place of vulnerability where he's sort of saying, and my own understanding of this isn't where it should be, and I don't feel proud of where we are on the journey. And so the approach that I take with organizations is, there's no judgment, right? Because the reality is you are where you are. And so I try to meet companies where they are and meet leaders where they are. And when there's judgment involved, it really closes people down. It actually prevents leaders from seeking out change, because they don't want to be kind of stigmatized for, how come you're only thinking about this now? So for me, it's very much, you are where you are. Like, if the place that we start is, let's just get everybody to a stage where they all kind of understand what diversity, equity, and inclusion means and why it's beneficial to the business. And we get some small steps forward at an organizational level to get us on that path. So it can be, as big as people want to kind of make it. But I think the main thing is small steps forward, right? If you make small steps forward on a consistent basis, your organization is going to look drastically different 1 year down the road.
Yeah, it's so true. It really, some people won't go from, point one, ground zero to 10, and they're like, wow, that's a big shift. But if you actually just think you have to sequentially take one step at a time and making some adjustments.
Yeah.
So Ginnette, we have time for one last question. I wanted to ask, in your business, you also do placement. Did I see that correctly? Do you also, if somebody is, say, a female or of diversity, you help find them progressive companies that are matches for their resumes? Is that true?
Sort of, it's kind of part of the retained search business, right? So as part of the business that the search business, I have a commitment to really introducing and facilitating opportunities for diverse candidates. And so, you know, as part of that, I will often build relationships and have a huge network of candidates that you know, they want the opportunities to be connected to more progressive companies. So I definitely I enjoy that aspect greatly, and being able to kind of help people to access opportunities that really align with their own value systems too is huge.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, we love here at It's Better Together to help support each other in business. So if anybody does know any referrals or want to, you know, Harper and Gray, I feel like you have such a great vision and mission of what you're trying to accomplish. So we'd love to help you get some more referrals if there's anybody we can send your way. And can I ask, how can people that are listening to this get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so I tend to be on LinkedIn a lot. I kind of I live on LinkedIn as my social platform. So you can find me at Ginnette Harvey on LinkedIn. You can look up the website and contact me through Harper and Gray. Yeah, I would love to hear from you, and super responsive.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all you're doing. We love this conversation. And for those of you that are here live, we're going to end the recording, and we can talk a little bit more with Ginnette after the show. But thank you for everyone that's been here on behalf of my sister, Alison Nissen. This is It's Better Together Plus.
Yes, let's go out and create a judgment-free world.
I love that.
I think we're still live.
I'm trying.